not too bad. Not too good. Oh well. Figure it out later. Or not, I don't know. Let's play a little Warframe before bed. No, not no virtual fighter. Ain't nobody got time for that. The launcher loud as fuck. I bet.
Another dead general.
Oh, I hate doing spies. It's solo, it takes forever. Run with people, and then they fail it. Shit, sometimes I fail it. Can't even lie.
Operator, are you enjoying the view?
I just hate them. We'll just fucking Coda and Kuba it out.
I see.
I'm not gonna kill anything anyway. Hell yeah, I got those heart cells from the Warframe live stream earlier today. That was nice. My load could be faster. I like running fast.
Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching.
They are near.
Tenno, be on the lookout for increased security measures. You're nearing the console. Trigger the alarms now, and they will start destroying the data.
Oh, it's in there. Is she still right there? No.
You've triggered the alarms. Lose this data, and the mission will be a complete failure. Excellent work. A clean extraction with no alarms.
First try.
We have everything we came for. Get to extraction. Another job well executed.
Someone is attempting to contact the operator. Please check your inbox.
Might work.
Tier 1,
Hell.
Classic Hell. The stuff you think you know. Dante's Inferno. The map that shaped Hell. Okay, so imagine this. You die.
We have located the enemy's planetary communication towers. Capture the towers and remain in control long enough to decode incoming
At every
messages.
level you drop, things get worse. Welcome to Dante's Inferno. Basically a medieval fanfic that accidentally became the official tour guide to Hell. Dante didn't just make like a theme park designed by a philology major having a breakdown. In the first circle of Hell is a place called Limbo. Good people who were never baptized live here. People like babies or kind people from long ago who didn't know about it. They aren't in pain, but they also don't get to be with God. It's a quiet and sad place, but peaceful, gray, and gloomy. But then you go deeper. Circle 2 is for the lustful. You like the spicy tango? Cool. Now you're like a plastic bag drifting through a hurricane. Circle 3, gluttony. They lie in freezing, disgusting mud, while icy rain pours down where Cerberus the worm dog uses you as a chew toy. After that, people fight by pushing giant weights back and forth in Circle 4.
We have control
Forever.
of all
No
4
point,
towers.
no winner. Just endless struggle. Circle 5 is wrath. You either drown in rage or stew in silence. Either way, you're marinating in your own bad vibe. and it only gets darker. In Circle 6, people who rejected religion are locked in burning tombs. Circle 7 is for violence. It's choose your own atrocity. Killers, boiling blood jacuzzi. Suicidal, become a haunted, bleeding tree. Blasphemers, grilled by a fire. Delightful. Circle 8 is for liars, cheaters, and fakers. Think scammers, corrupt leaders, and people who acted holy but weren't. They get boiled, whipped, smashed, and worse. At the very bottom are for the worst of the worst. Circle 9, traitors. But it's not hot, it's frozen solid. The biggest sinners are trapped in ice forever. In the very center of it, there's someone who is stuck in time, and he's Satan himself, with 3 faces, chewing on the worst traitors in history. Judas, Brutus, and Cassius, like their eternal snacks. Creepy, right? But here's the wild thing. This version of hell basically became canon. Every movie, cartoon game, you've probably seen Dante's influence without knowing. It wasn't just a story. It became a blueprint for what hell looks like in our heads. And they said writing fan fiction won't get you anywhere. And now we're gonna dig into a version of hell that doesn't care about poetry. It just wants you to burn forever. Let's look into Fire and Brimstone. Christian Gehenna. Alright, so picture this. You're standing at the edge of a giant pit. It's not just deep, it's glowing. Orange, red fire everywhere. The heat hits your face. You hear people screaming. You smell burning, but it's not wood, it's skin. This is the Fire and Brimstone hell. This is the version of hell that became pop culture's favorite. The lava pool, the pitchforks, the whole burn forever vibe. This version is inspired by parts of the Bible and the Gospels and Revelation, where hell is described as a place of fire and judgment. Some verses say it's a place made for the devil and his demons, but people who reject God can end up there too. And get this, you don't just burn once, you burn, regenerate, and burn again, over and over, with no escape ever. Back in the day, preachers used this to scare people into being good. They wanted fear, because they thought fear would keep people from doing bad stuff. One famous preacher, Jonathan Edwards, even gave a whole sermon about how people are like spiders hanging over a fire, and God's just holding the web. But not everyone agreed with this super intense version. Some Christians believe hell isn't forever, or that it's more like a place where you just stop existing completely. Others say it's not a place at all, it's just being cut off from God. But the fire and suffering model, that's the one that stuck. Because nothing scares like skin-melting fear. Movies, metal songs, memes, this hell is everywhere. And honestly, it works. But who's running the furnace? Who's smiling while you roast? Let's just say red suit, horns, PR team from hell. Yeah, he's next. The devil as tormentor. Is he running hell or just trapped in it? Alright, now let's talk about the devil. You know the image. Red skin, horns, pitchfork, and laughing while people burn. He's the boss of hell, right? Well, not exactly. Here's the fact. In the actual Bible, the devil isn't shown as the guy in charge of hell. In fact, hell was made to punish him, not give him a job. Revelation 20:10 says he'll be thrown into the lake of fire, along with the beast and the false prophet to be tormented forever. So how did we end up with this version of Satan who's like the evil CEO of the underworld? It all started with stories and art. Over time, people added things that weren't in the Bible. In medieval church plays made the devil into this loud, sneaky character who dragged people to hell for laughs. Artists painted him as a monster with wings and claws. Writers gave him lines like, "Better to rule in hell than serve in heaven." And that one is from a book called Paradise Lost, and it's stuck in our heads now. So now, in movies, memes, and Halloween costumes, we picture the devil running hell like it's his kingdom, torturing people, making the rules, and laughing in the fire. But in older Christian writings, especially in Dante's Inferno, Satan is actually trapped at the very bottom of hell. Not burning, but frozen in ice. Not moving, not talking. Just chewing on traitors with his 3 mouths. Still, people like the idea of a scary villain in charge. It made hell feel more organized. More like a nightmare version of real life where bad bosses punish bad employees. And that's why this torturer version of Satan became so popular. It's dramatic. It's simple. It's the stuff of horror movies and scary bedtime stories. Even if it's not what the original texts say, the image is so powerful that it keeps coming back. But here's the creepy part. Not everyone in hell is screaming or getting burned or frozen. Some are just wait,
Maybe I was using it
no
the same way.
fire, no demons. Just an endless feeling of not good enough. That's what limbo and purgatory are. Limbo and purgatory. Here, people just wait for a really, really long time. Let's start with limbo. Imagine a place where nothing really happens. No fire, no pain, but also no joy, no light, no God. Just this quiet, endless space where souls float in sadness. That's limbo. Limbo isn't found in the Bible. It was developed by medieval theologians like St. Augustine, later Thomas Aquinas, to solve tricky questions. Like, what happens to unbaptized babies or good people who didn't even have a chance to believe in Jesus? So they made this place called limbo. It's not punishment, exactly. It's more like eternal timeout. You're not being tortured, but you'll never see the light either. You're just stuck forever. But what about purgatory? This one's actually part of Catholic belief, and it's kind of like spiritual rehab, but with fire. Here's the idea. Some people die with sins that aren't bad enough for hell, but they're not 100% ready for heaven either. So God gives them a chance to be cleaned up. That place is purgatory. And yeah, it's not fun. People in purgatory go through pain, but it's not punishment. It's more like a painful detox, a spiritual washing machine. You suffer for a while, maybe even a long while, but eventually you get to move on. You'll graduate to heaven. In old stories, this process can be super intense. People get burned by spiritual fire. They're forced to climb mountains, and most of them cry out. In Dante's Purgatorio, the proud souls carry giant stones to humble themselves. The jealous people have their eyes sewn shut. The slothful are forced to run endlessly. But here's the difference in Purgatory. You have hope. You know you'll get out someday. That's what makes it better than hell. Still, both are pretty eerie. These aren't places of screaming or blood, but they are emotionally disturbing. You're not bad. You're just not good enough. And that hurts in a whole different way. But if you think these systems are strange, wait until you see a hell that doesn't wait for you to improve. It doesn't guide, forgive, or hold your hand. Because in the world of Islamic Jahannam, there are no second chances. Tier 2. Divine Justice Systems. Islamic Jahannam. In Islam, hell...
This guy's kind of stale. Let's see. Let's go, boys. Oh man, I love Legends of Adventurous. Or Legend. Regardless, love it. I want to watch something that isn't super short, so I don't gotta keep picking shit. Let's see. I love this guy.
Discovery. And I think this definitely goes for philosophers. Someone like Kant would just have the same daily routine in his hometown for basically his entire adult life, to the point where he's sort of known a bit as the town eccentric. Someone like Nietzsche would be passionately committed to the mountains and would retreat up into them for months on end and would withdraw himself from society and, you know, generally just didn't seem to have that good of a time. I mean, at least when you read about the life of Kant, it seems like he was having a vaguely good time being this sort of provincial Königsberg gentleman who just kind of, you know, muddied about in his daily life, but wrote some absolutely phenomenal philosophy, whereas Nietzsche does come across like he is having just the worst time, basically all of the time. And sort of reminds me of the bottom part of this meme here. By contrast, you meet people who read philosophy or do philosophy as a hobby, and they seem broadly quite nice. I mean, I'm very biased here, so I don't know if I can make a very good judgment on this. But, you know, whenever I meet a philosophy enthusiast, I'm pretty predisposed to like them, and they also seem, you know, relatively well put together. I think that, well, certainly when compared to some of the great philosophers. That being said, if you do meet actual modern-day philosophers at a modern university department, some of them are quite odd, but a lot of them are perfectly lovely people who are just very passionate about a particular area of philosophy or the history of philosophy and just want to share that and work on that. But in terms of kind of the great philosophers in history, they do tend to be a little bit strange. I mean, a really good example of this, I think, is Ludwig Wittgenstein, who just all of the stories about him are so bizarre. I mean, the man was completely off his rocker quite a lot of the time, alongside being an absolute genius. This was someone who would pace around a Bertrand Russell's study, and Russell would kind of joke at him and say, you know, you thinking about logic or your sins? And Ludwig Wittgenstein would kind of tense up and reply, oh, it's both. And there's one famous story of him sat at a meeting of the Moral Sciences Club, which is like the Cambridge Philosophy Society. And Karl Popper, another great name of 20th century philosophy, but a significantly more well-adjusted person, is giving a talk. And Wittgenstein is furious about it. And he really doesn't like Popper's general conclusions that he's arguing for, and he grabs the hot poker from the fire and brandishes it at Popper, at least according to some accounts, and tells him, give me one example of an unqualified moral truth, or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote. And Popper replies, don't threaten your visiting lecturers with hot pokers. And to this, Wittgenstein kind of throws it down and storms out, and I think he fell out with Russell over it as well. And you know, this is somebody who is so passionately committed to philosophy that it gets them worked up emotionally in a way that, for most people, philosophy just doesn't. You know, even people who are really into philosophy, it's not like if you were to tell them some kind of semi-ridiculous philosophical premise, or ridiculous to them at least, they would start threatening you with objects around the room. And Wittgenstein was just very, very passionately committed to philosophy in this way. And that led to some extremely erratic behavior. I think that, you know, for huge swathes of his life, he would also run off to a cabin in the mountain and just sort of be by himself and write his notes. And there was a point where he was a primary school teacher. God, I can't imagine Ludwig Wittgenstein being a primary school teacher. I mean, at this, you know, what a privilege. But at the same time, what a complete bloody nightmare that would be. I don't know any accounts of when he was a teacher, but if I were to imagine it, I think it would be awful. I mean, you know, this was a man who was frustrated with the intellectual levels of Cambridge professors. I can only imagine like a poor 5-year-old looking up at him and being like, oh, Wittgenstein, here's my 8 times tables, and then getting, you know, 7 times 8 wrong, and then Wittgenstein brandishing a hot poker at him. But, you know, on the flip side, you get to get taught by Wittgenstein. I mean, that sounds awesome. I'd love to have been taught by Wittgenstein, even though I think he would definitely leave my self-esteem in the absolute gutter. Next, we have a meme by Let's Go Wendigo, and it's logicians versus Gaston, and Gaston says, how can you read this? It's only equations. I think this is a fairly accurate representation of what a lot of more literary-minded philosophers think when first encountering mathematical logic. Mathematical logic was like my first love in philosophy, in a sense. I really enjoyed it. I did my master's thesis in logic. About 2 days before my viva, which is the oral exam that you undergo for your thesis, I noticed a mistake in one of my proofs. And I was devastated. I was like, oh, they've definitely noticed. It wouldn't be the end of the world because, you know, it was a pretty simple thing to correct. But I remember thinking, oh, God, I'm such a moron, and I'm now going to get completely roasted. But they didn't notice. I was flabbergasted because it was really obvious. So maybe they thought it was so obvious that it kind of didn't bear talking about, and they would just dock some marks for it. Or they also did what I did when I was proofreading my thesis, which is skim over that particular proof because it looked a bit dull, and not realize that it contained a pretty serious mistake that undermined the structure of the proof. But anyway, if anyone at Cambridge is watching this, please don't take away my master's degree. However, despite this little hiccup in my relationship with logic, it has remained one of my great loves. It's a fascinating subject, and I do highly encourage people to at least learn the kind of basics of logic, because it will become more helpful than you can ever imagine. It just makes the world clearer. It's like understanding things in a higher definition. I don't mean that as kind of a point of bragging, because I think that actually that kind of higher definitional feeling comes with spending like 2 hours learning basic logical notations. But the effort to reward ratio of that is absurdly high. It will just click the world into focus in a whole host of ways. Unfortunately, I don't get to talk about formal or mathematical logic very much on the channel, just because it's quite a dry subject. It lends itself more to kind of maths channels with lots of animations that I couldn't possibly code, or even channels that work around a whiteboard. Also, one of the things that I enjoy most about running this channel is the writing of the scripts. It's my favorite part by far. If there was one thing I could outsource to someone else, it would be this. It would be the presenting. I find this much more stressful, whereas, you know, if I have a day where I can just go to a coffee shop and I can just write, like, loads, I love it. And to a certain extent, writing explanations of formal logical concepts, it doesn't allow that much wriggle room for artistry, I suppose, because you're valuing precision above everything else. And that's as it should be, right? Otherwise, you're going to distort the meaning of the maths. But it does mean that it takes a lot of the fun out of writing, at least for me personally. I do think that there's an art to writing good maths textbooks, though. The book, A Friendly Introduction to Mathematical Logic, is phenomenal at this at an intermediate level. It motivates all its concepts really well and puts them in sort of a story that helps you understand why they're important and why they're relevant and why they may be worth learning, even if on the surface they seem pretty niche and kind of useless. And I promise that they're not useless, but you'll just have to take my word on that. But if you do want to learn more about logic, or indeed any other mathematical or scientific subject, then you should check out today's very kind sponsor, Brilliant. Everyone knows that learning subjects like maths or science can be incredibly difficult. These topics get very abstract and dense, and sometimes they can make you want to tear your hair out. But this is where Brilliant comes into play. They have courses on everything from programming with Python to classical mechanics to learning how AI language models work, each crafted by award-winning research teams. The best part is that with Brilliant, you learn by doing, making the information stick in your mind much more effectively. It's also just a great antidote to scrolling, since with their app, you can complete quick lessons or exercises on the go rather than getting lost in the quagmire of an internet argument or doom scrolling on social media. If you do fancy learning some logic, and I do highly recommend it, then you can check out the logic courses on Brilliant, which are fantastic tools for aiding your critical thinking and just seeing what logic is all about. A very dear friend of mine also wanted to let you know that the calculus puzzles on Brilliant are a lot of fun. To try everything that Brilliant has to offer for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/unsolicited advice or scan the QR code on screen. Or you can just click the link in the description, I don't mind which. You'll also get 20% off a premium annual subscription, so please do check this out. But anyway, back to the video. Okay, next we have a meme by Mr. Rizstein, and it's about Marcus Aurelius' meditations. And it says, me before reading Marcus Aurelius, and it's someone sort of crumpled up on the floor looking pretty miserable. And then me while reading Marcus Aurelius, and then it's the story of going through the book. So it says, okay, I see. And then, all right, shit, he's kind of right. And then it's, F yeah, and renews gym membership. And then at the end, it's, oh my god, I'm a changed man. I will only focus on things within my control from now on. And then it's him the next day, and he's in the same position, crumpled on the floor, incredibly miserable. Funnily enough, I think that Marcus Aurelius' Meditations is a very good book to make this point in, because one of the main critiques that it gets is that it's very repetitive. And it is, I will say that. Marcus Aurelius' Meditations kind of has 4 or 5 points in it, and he just keeps coming back to them over and over again and says them in sort of broadly different ways and approaches them from slightly different emotive angles and argumentative angles, but they are kind of, they are the same general positions being made. You know, they're about things like only caring about what's in your control and recognizing you're part of an intricate tapestry of different people and being patient with others and expressing gratitude. And it's all kind of stuff that you would associate with the Stoics and particularly Marcus Aurelius' brand of Stoicism, right? This isn't me having a go. You would expect him to largely focus on these points. But as a result, quite a lot of people read the Meditations and think, this is incredibly repetitive. Why is this such a classic work of philosophy? And I think that this meme actually illustrates why it is so repetitive. It's because you can't just learn a lesson about the world or about philosophy once and think, right, this will just filter straight into my life and I don't have to revisit it or habituate it or learn it again in any way. It can just sit in the back of my mind, safe in the knowledge that it's there, it's now going to be the ruling principle of my behavior, or it's going to be incorporated into the ruling principles of my behavior. And I just don't think this is how people work. I mean, I don't think that's particularly controversial. I mean, we've known this since at least Aristotle. One of Aristotle's points in Nicomachean Ethics is basically, contrary to Socrates and to Plato, who came before him, knowledge isn't sufficient for virtue. You also have to go out and habituate it and make it a part of your character and emotional framework as opposed to merely your cognitive one. And to a certain extent, this was seen as a point of conflict between Aristotle and the Stoics, because technically, the Stoics thought that knowledge itself was going to be sufficient for virtue. I talk about this in my video on Stoicism, right, where to know something just is to acquire that and have it in your map of the world and for it to become part of your behavior. But this also means the Stoics have a particular definition of knowledge where it implies behavior. So to a certain extent, I think the disagreement between these two schools of philosophy is slightly less deep than it's often thought to be. Because, you know, on the one hand, Aristotle is saying, well, knowledge is not enough. You've got to habituate this into your behavior through careful practice and reinforcement. And the Stoics are saying, if something hasn't filtered into your behavior, then you don't truly know it. And these just sound like using the word know in different ways, as opposed to there being a substantive disagreement about what knowledge is. And this sounds like, to a large extent, they are using the term know in very different ways. And as a result, I don't know to what extent you could call this a substantive disagreement about how to go about becoming virtuous, and to what extent it is kind of a linguistic confusion. I don't know enough about either schools, really, to give a precise verdict on that. But for example, when Epictetus is talking about how it's not enough to simply rehearse the Stoic principles, you need to put them into your behavior, and that's what constitutes knowledge of virtue, that's a really Aristotelian idea. It's just that Aristotle uses knowledge to mean what Epictetus means by kind of rote learning or general awareness. But also, yes, I think this meme does have a real point. But it is a point that philosophers have recognized. So if you're struggling to incorporate some philosophical principle into your life that you're very, very attached to or believe very strongly in, then give it some time and give it some practice. Or at least that's what Aristotle would say. And eventually, if you follow this Aristotelian line of thinking, the behavior will become so automatic and so natural to you that you will take pleasure in its enacting. So Aristotle talks about a series of levels at which you learn a philosophical principle or habituate a virtue. First of all, there's where you kind of consciously have to do it against your will. You know, if your natural tendency is to lose your temper and you're practicing being calm, then that will take effort. That'll be active effort. You're working against your habits. And then gradually the resistance to this new behavior will decrease and it will become less and less trouble to remain calm in stressful situations. And then finally, it will bring you active pleasure to be the kind of person that is calm in a stressful situation. Or at least that's kind of roughly what Aristotle's line of thinking about habituation would be. Because he thinks that, you know, being virtuous is pleasurable. He just doesn't think, like the Stoics do, that it is sufficient for eudaimonia. He does think it's an important step on the way there. But yes, if you're struggling with this, then please don't feel bad. It takes a lot of effort to habituate a philosophical principle. I fall short of my philosophical ideals literally every day. So yes, please don't beat yourself up about it. Or maybe I should beat myself up about it. It's got to be one of the two, otherwise I'm inconsistent. Right, next up we have a meme by Confidence Donut 51, and it reads, "Most dead bodies are philosophers," and then it's a picture of Mr. Incredible looking pretty happy, and then it's Jeremy Bentham, and it's the skull-tortured version of Mr. Incredible. God, it's actually quite disturbing to look at. But anyway, this is in reference to the fact that Jeremy Bentham's dead body is stored at University College London. I've actually seen it. It's quite a sight to behold. His head used to be stored at his feet, but students from UCL kept nicking it for pranks. So I don't know where it is now. I think it's in storage, or it wasn't there when I saw it anyway. So this is one of Jeremy Bentham's most eccentric requests, was that his body was to be preserved permanently after his death, to be a kind of like icon. Jeremy Bentham was one of the strangest men ever. People tend to know about the dead body thing, but he did a whole host of just completely weird shit. So he invented a walking stick that doubled as a flute. He had a series of pets that he very seriously treated as if they were people, and just generally approached the world in an incredibly bizarre, unashamedly eccentric way. And, you know, I can't help but respect that. I'm actually gonna look this up. There's an article that UCL put out a few years ago on 10 things you didn't know about Jeremy Bentham. He's very much associated with UCL, but he's not actually its founder. He really argued for the kind of spreading of education amongst the general populace, and UCL was founded partly on that principle. So that's why he's at UCL. I don't actually know how they got hold of his body. Yeah, because he's there now. He's like mummified corpses there, which is so insane. Yeah, he's thought to have been one of the first joggers, and this was seen as insane at the time. This was seen as just incredibly odd, and he was still doing this in his 80s. You know, one of the first fun runners. That sounds really cool. I don't know if Jeremy Bentham actually did invent fun running. He almost certainly didn't, because these things tend to get inflated over time. I would like to think that he was. Went to the University of Oxford at age 12 to study law, which again, it's just like, it's you know, he was kind of this child prodigy that also just was mad, but he was so brilliant that everyone put up with him. I don't know, I think it's really cool. I like learning about the eccentric lives of these old philosophers. Again, reference back to an earlier meme about philosophers resembling sort of tortured alcoholics. I don't think Jeremy Bentham was necessarily tortured, but he was odd enough that you definitely remember having a conversation with him. There must be some more. Okay, I've just had a bit more of a Google just because I actually didn't know that much about this one. And this guy is mad. Like, he would journal all of his daily activities in incredible detail, and would make like charts and graphs of how well he's feeling. And he analyzed his day in 50-minute bits. That's awesome. You know, I might start doing some of this. This is so cool. Maybe this will be like a good challenge. I mean, it won't go on the channel, but I quite often spend periods of my life attempting to live like particular philosophers or embody particular philosophies. And maybe I'll spend like 2 weeks living like Jeremy Bentham and see what happens to me. Because this is so cool and so fascinating. And I think that if I continue Googling this video is going to be several hours long. So I'm going to stop now and move on to the next meme. But yeah, what a man. Okay. Next, we have a meme by Dapper Suggestion 462, and it's of a monk meditating, and he initially thinks, wow, this is it. I finally killed my ego. And then he waits a bit and thinks, I'm so much better than everyone else. I think there is a lot in this meme, and it's something that almost every spiritual tradition warns against. In Christianity, you have the notion of spiritual pride. This idea that you are holier than everyone else is itself a form of sin. It's not for you to say that you're holier than other people, it's for God to say. And the idea that God loves you more than he loves anyone else is a little bit egotistical. It's considered a little bit prideful. In Buddhism, they recognize this as well. They would say that this person is still attached to their ego implicitly through this idea that they are better than other people, even though they fooled themselves into letting go of their ego. I think the Buddha, or it might have been a later Buddhist thinker, does specifically identify this as an extreme impediment to achieving enlightenment, because it tricks you into thinking that you are further along the spiritual path than you actually are. And schools of philosophy that are trying to advocate for a particular total approach to life, like Stoicism, for example, do tend to have an analogous version of this warning. Epictetus warns against people who have simply memorized the Stoics and as a result think that they are now sages in and of themselves, and of people who fool themselves into thinking that they are further along the Stoic path than they actually are. And I think that all of these hit upon quite an important observation about we humans and how we go about our daily life and explore ideas. We do often overestimate the extent to which we have internalized and habituated these philosophical principles for everyday existence. I think we visited this a little bit with one of our earlier memes, but this meme builds upon the foundation of that meme by suggesting that not only can we trick ourselves into thinking that we are further along a particular philosophical path than we actually are, but that this is in itself an impediment to furthering our position upon that philosophical path. And I think there's quite a lot in that. You see a lot of this style of meme floating around the online Christian sphere, where it'll be someone making fun of themselves, saying that they're lecturing their incredibly pious and virtuous grandmother about the particular writings of some obscure 2nd century saint or a kind of minor church father or something like that. And I think that these memes are pretty good to remind ourselves that maybe we think we're a bit cleverer and a bit wiser and a bit more developed than we actually are. And that sometimes it might benefit us to sit back and reflect upon all of those people who are wiser than us and know more than us and are cleverer than us, and just reconsider our place in relation to other people. We're probably not as top dogs as we sometimes trick ourselves into thinking we are. Next, we have a meme by Karl Lapels, and it's Schopenhauer, and it says, "Me socializes, and then me for the next 3 months." And it's this Arthur Schopenhauer quote, "To live alone is the fate of all great souls." Unsurprisingly, philosophy is replete with quotes about solitude and finding a place to think your own thoughts, and the connection between a certain degree of social remove and the ability to come up with ideas that are uncorrupted in their understanding by your wider society. And I think there is an element of truth to this, right? I think that if you are enmeshed in a particular community, you are going to inherit their views to a greater or lesser extent. Some philosophical schools have seen this as a strength. Epicurus recommended that Epicureans live together, and this is partly because they can remind one another of the shared wisdom of Epicureanism. However, I do like to give a counterpoint to this view, which is, if you are enmeshed in a community of not necessarily like-minded individuals, but individuals who are also interested in thinking about a particular issue very deeply, then you get to draw from their wisdom. When I was at university, I would surround myself with people who were just very inquisitive about the world and about their particular subjects, and a lot of them about philosophy. And I think I may have learned just as much from them as I did from my actual formal course and my actual formal education. So I do think that there are strengths to finding a community of people who are similarly passionate about thinking itself. But I think, on the flip side, it's important that these don't become belief buddies, to use one of my favorite terms from Naretta Courge, which is just when groups of people reinforce their own shared beliefs and don't subject them to any kind of critical thought or critical inquiry. It's important not to lose the vein of precise Socratic examination along the way. I also think that the valorization of isolation can often stem from resentment. I see this in people a fair amount, where because they might perhaps be struggling to find friends or find a community that they particularly gel with, they sort of reject people out of hand. I've definitely fallen into this in the past, by the way. This is by no means a criticism of those people. I only notice it because I know it's such a strong tendency in myself to say, oh, well, if you don't like me, then fine, I guess I'll just retreat into my philosophical tower and I'll pursue my studies as a lone, fearless seeker of wisdom. And I think, you know, there's something in that idea that solitude allows you time to reflect and study hard on a particular subject. But I also think that when I have expressed this, it has almost always had something to do with me actually feeling quite lonely and hurt at the time, and attempting to justify that as something dignified to myself by turning it on somebody else in a kind of fit of resentment. I think you see this a lot in Dostoevsky's Underground Man. I'm currently rereading Notes from the Underground for like the 8th time or something like that. Because I'm writing a kind of full, special, hour-long video examining that text in particular. It was the video that kind of sparked my channel kind of starting to grow. But at that time, I was still making videos for particular students I was teaching. And that was no exception. One of my students had read Notes from the Underground, or Notes from Underground, and said, I don't really get this. And so all of my writing in that video is specifically geared towards this one person that I knew. And as a result, it doesn't really examine its wider or deeper themes, unfortunately. So I want to kind of remake a video on Notes from the Underground, really trying to pull out its depth. And I think I'm going to really enjoy that. I've started planning it, and I'll start writing it soon. But anyway, what I was going to say is that you see this in the protagonist of Notes from Underground basically constantly. He is quite often positioning himself as a lone, intelligent person swimming in a sea of idiots. And it's pretty clear that if those supposed idiots showed him a modicum of love or affection, or he could somehow win them over to his side, make them his friends and band them together in a loving community, he would probably immediately drop his assessment that they're idiots and start praising them as noble and worthy people. And I do sometimes worry that the philosophical glamorization of isolation can tip into this camp. On the other hand, there is just the simple truth that people can be frustrating sometimes, and occasionally you do need to withdraw into your own space and your own mind for a little bit before venturing back out into the world. I would just encourage people not to stay there for too long. I think that one of the most pernicious things about isolation and extended isolation, speaking as someone who has sort of in the past spent kind of months basically seeing no one and kind of spending it in their own company, eventually it becomes scary to go outside. You sort of learn to treat the strangers that you encounter just on your walk to the shops as if they're going to be hostile, as if they're going to mean you harm, because you just haven't had any evidence that they're not. And you feel vulnerable because it's just you and you don't have anyone to necessarily reach out to in the area and stuff like that. So yeah, perhaps I'm a little bit more skeptical of the philosophical isolation than most people, because I think that A, it can often stem from resentment, and B, I think that being alone for a very, very long stretch of time can become this rather unpleasant cycle where you just fear the mere concept of other people. I should also say I'm absolutely fine now. Okay, next we have a meme by Sad Avocado, and it's the distracted boyfriend meme. And the distracted boyfriend is analytic philosophers, the rejected girlfriend is doing actual philosophy, and the person he is being distracted by is arguing about the definition of exists for 500 pages. So this is part of the general good-natured ribbing that goes on between continental and analytic philosophers. Analytic philosophers will often accuse continental philosophers of simply doing word salad and semi-expressing things rather than stating them clearly and articulately, and continental philosophers will often accuse analytic philosophers of ignoring the broader themes of life like love or meaning or community or being in favor of these particular definitional concerns or technical terminology within philosophy or precise logical rigor. And I think there is definitely some truth to both of these critiques. I do think that sometimes continental philosophers could stand to be perhaps a little bit more precise in their wording, but at the same time, there is a reason why most people are drawn to the more continental thinkers than the hardcore analytic ones. Funnily enough, I was the opposite. I loved and still love the logical rigor of analytic philosophy. And I will say a few words in defense of defining your terms with intense precision in the manner of a hardcore analytic philosopher. Because while it may seem like a waste of time at the time of writing, further down the line when you're examining the detailed implications of your philosophy, it does really help to look back and see what the initial definitions of your terms are. And it also does really help misunderstandings. Imagine the number of arguments that you have with other people where you're just talking past one another because you're using the same term in different ways. And modern analytic philosophy is very good at avoiding doing that, because each person states their definitions very clearly, situates it in a particular historical context, and only then do they move on with their particular argument. So it's much easier to figure out exactly what people are meaning to say. Whereas, you know, you can read a paragraph of Heidegger and come away from it thinking, wow, there's probably something in this. I wonder if I'll ever figure out what it is. And I think that you could defend this from a certain perspective, right? You could analogize it to a koan in Zen Buddhism, which is a statement like, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Where the point is to meditate on it and reflect upon it and wrestle with it, and that this is in itself quite a good exercise. And sometimes there are philosophers where I take this approach to them a little bit. Some of Nietzsche's aphorisms where it's just one line of incredible richness but not a lot of clarity as to what precisely he's trying to get at, does lend itself to this careful process of going away and reflecting upon it and maybe writing a little bit around it, and then returning with a renewed sense of what he might mean, but also more importantly, a sense of what you have understood by this particular aphorism. However, this is quite a painstaking and can be quite a frustrating process, particularly if you're trying to understand what this particular philosopher meant by this particular statement. That process is often a lot easier in the analytic school than the continental one. On the other hand, I do think that if you just focus on the questions that are popular within analytic philosophy circles, this can draw you away from examining concepts that have inherent vagueness to them. You know, things like love or passion or melancholy. These are, to a certain extent, quite individual experiences, and we use the same term to umbrella a variety of different feelings and, experiences. And this can mean that the search for a totally precise definition is always going to be a bit of a fool's errand. You're either going to cut out some of the richness of the concept you're studying, or you're just going to leave out so many people's experiences that you're now examining almost an entirely different thing or a specific subset of your initial topic. And there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes you do want to talk about experiences of love in general or experiences of melancholy in general. I think that a good rule of thumb is a variation on, I think, a quote by Richard Feynman. It's either Feynman or Einstein. It's a physicist who said, explain things as simply as you can, but no simpler, or put things in as simple terms as you can, but no simpler. I think that when I'm writing about continental philosophy or existential philosophy or dealing with these broader themes of human existence, I tend to follow the maxim, be as precise as you can, but no more precise than this. And I at least hope that this makes things clearer than they otherwise would be without pigeonholing these philosophers into saying less than they actually did, which I think is always a risk when you're taking someone like Camus or Sartre or Nietzsche or Heidegger and you're attempting to boil everything they said down into a few key propositions. I think always something is going to be left out, but I try and leave as little out as possible as you can in like a half-an-hour YouTube video. But no, I'll leave it up to you to decide how fruitful an approach that is or how good I am at it. But it's one I'm going to stick with for now. Okay, that's all the memes I have for you today. You can check out the rest of my casual videos here, and do let me know what other casual video ideas you'd like to see me do, because I do really enjoy filming them. It's nice to kind of speak in slightly more loose terms than I would do if I was doing a full scripted video. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.
Punching shit is faster than running too, goddamn. Everyone died.
Memes may be one of the greatest communicative innovations of our age. They communicate ideas in an interesting and often amusing fashion, and in the case of philosophy memes, can provoke some truly deep thought. So, to continue this monthly series, I've collected some of the latest and greatest memes from r/philosophy memes to find out what we can learn from these pickings of the internet. Because, in my opinion, there's often more to memes than meets the eye. So, I've got my collection of memes, I've got my afternoon cup of Earl Grey tea, and let's crack on. So, to kick us off, we've got a meme by user Riz Stein, and it's entitled Me Reading Nietzsche. And then it's sort of a cover of Beyond Good and Evil with a series of sections of the reader getting more and more confused through it. And then him afterwards going, ah, he's so deep. I think this can be a pretty universal experience reading Nietzsche, and it definitely happened to me. A lot of the time, Nietzsche writes in an aphoristic style. This basically means he will have a series of statements with tangential connections to one another and will largely speak in declarations rather than in reasoned arguments. This is one of the things that makes Nietzsche very hard to read if you've got more of an analytic philosophy background. But Nietzsche's not the only person to write in this style. I think Emil Cioran is another really good example. He's a pessimistic philosopher who similarly writes in aphorisms. But he's also a similarly cryptic philosopher, so I'm not sure what that says about the style. I think that it has its strengths and its weaknesses. For one thing, it can be very, very poetic. But on the other hand, it often leaves a lot of room for interpretive scope. And this, again, can be a good thing or a bad thing. Nietzsche himself thought that it was very important that the people reading him took his thoughts away and reflected upon them, crafting their own philosophies in the process. But at the same time, if you're interested in working out what Nietzsche actually thought, this style can get in the way. I think it was probably on my third reading of Beyond Good and Evil that I really got to grips with what he was talking about. If you're finding this difficulty with Nietzsche, then I'd recommend reading a bit of secondary literature alongside him, because it can really help contextualize him and put his thoughts in terms of the wider Nietzsche scholarship. Beyond Good and Evil is actually a good example of this. For the first couple of sections, if I remember correctly, Nietzsche really does come across like noble morality is an inherently cruel and abasing thing to enact. But then in the third section, he does end up treating it in a slightly more rounded way. For instance, I think he introduces the concept of magnanimity, which is where one strong or noble person helps out another strong or noble person simply out of the overflowing kindness of their heart, because they don't feel any inadequacy or weakness. And he also suggests that this is sometimes the attitude that strong people ought to take towards those weaker than them. But again, this is all so controversial, because in other works, and Thus Spake Zarathustra specifically comes to mind, Nietzsche often talks about how the strong should not take pity on the weak, but then again, he thinks that pity is a condescending attitude. It's all very complicated. Nietzsche is hard. Every time I write a video on Nietzsche, I'm always doing this balancing act between trying to hone in on a single aspect of his philosophy and then also trying to recognize that it all locks together into this really fascinating, hypnotic, but terribly confusing puzzle. Not that this should put you off reading Nietzsche, I think he's really good fun. But I also do think that it's sometimes worth having a secondary source on hand to help guide you through him. I would personally recommend the Cambridge Companion to Nietzsche. That is, if you can get your hands on it. I also think this meme speaks to an experience that a lot of people, myself included, have after reading some of the more difficult-to-pass philosophers like Nietzsche or Heidegger or Hegel, where I will occasionally get to the end of a work by one of them and think, that was really cool. And then I will really think carefully to myself about what was in it, and I won't be able to recall anything in very much detail. It's why I often read these things twice. I certainly sometimes confuse being impressed by a work with understanding it. which I think is reasonably natural, but it's certainly something I need to keep an eye on. But yes, don't let this put you off reading Nietzsche. I think he's one of the most thrilling philosophers to get through. But it is worth noting how frustratingly cryptic he can sometimes be. It's a bit like deciphering text messages from your crush. Of course, meme making is a skill, and if you want to learn new skills, then look no further than our very kind sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning platform with classes on various different topics. You can find anything from painting skills to party tricks to website design. So far, I've taken their classes on touch typing, interior design, and music history, and I am very happy with what I've learned. My current quest is to get through a variety of cooking classes, where I hope to brush up on various types of cuisine in an effort to become a fully functioning adult. Skillshare is a long-term sponsor of this channel because it is fantastic for feeding your curiosity. I feel like I'm slowly accumulating all of these little hobbies that help make life that bit richer. The first 500 people to use my link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so do give it a click to try it out. Thank you once again to Skillshare, and let's get back to the video. Okay, next we have a meme by Gatafu, and it's a statue of Diogenes which is captioned, "In a rich man's house there is no place to spit but his thang." And then of course it's attributed Diogenes of Sinop. I don't really have much to say about this meme. I just thought it was kind of funny. I've also seen the clip where the girl is like, huck to her and spit on that thing, and it was amusing, and I think that it's even more amusing when it's connected to ancient philosophy. But I suppose this does raise the question, what would Diogenes think of the hoc tua girl? And I suppose it depends on whether you interpret the public endorsement of hoc tua as going in line with current social trends or against them. If you interpreted this as a sort of cynic's critique of modern social norms, then I think Diogenes might approve. After all, he did touch himself in the street, so I can't imagine him having anything against public vulgarity. But on the other hand, I've seen people take this as an example of a dominant societal trend of, you know, treating sex as a sort of commodity. And if it's part of a popular social viewpoint, then I don't think Diogenes would care for it as much. Just because of his general contrarianism. I mean, you know, I'm a big fan of Diogenes' philosophy. Of course, with the emphasis Diogenes places on getting closer to nature and the natural world, this does raise the inevitable question. Is the notion of hoc tua getting you closer or further away from the natural world? I promise, I'm doing my best to say all of this with a straight face. Then again, there's a high chance that I'm just reading too much into this, but I think that is sort of the point of these meme videos. They're taking philosophy memes too seriously. And if the hoc tua girl evolves into the modern Diogenes, then I will be eating my facetiousness. Right, this next one, the user has deleted their name, but it's a picture of a rather distressed man. I think is this called a Wojak or a Soyjak? I don't know. Despite making my living on the internet, I basically live under a rock, so these things kind of pass me by. But anyway, it's captioned, "You believe in something, you're effing stupid. I'm a cynical nihilist who doesn't hold a coherent belief about anything, so everyone knows I'm smart and above it all. Everyone is dumb and we're all fucked. Laugh." There is definitely something in this meme. I think that, especially on the internet, we can confuse cynicism with either intelligence or wisdom. And I think this is partly because there's sort of a lower limit to how foolish you can look if you never commit to any position. Being a critic is much safer from an ego-based standpoint than actually trying to construct a philosophy. And I see this on my own videos. The videos where I try and build something new, even if it's using existing works, always get much more pushback than the ones where I'm simply criticizing an existing viewpoint or just elucidating what another philosopher thinks. And I do notice, especially on anonymous or pseudonymous platforms like Twitter, people are often incentivized not so much to construct something or create something, but instead to just give a witty quip to something that someone else has said. You know, the art of dunking on someone is held in very high regard in many online spaces. And I think that that can be fun, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with that. I just do wonder whether sometimes we overly devalue sincerity in the process. I talked about this a little bit in my video on A Hero of Our Time. I think that sometimes we undervalue sincerity because being sincere is an inherently more vulnerable position than being insincere. If you never put forward an honest thought on anything, then no one can really mock you. You might even be able to turn around and mock them for thinking you were ever serious about something. But I think this also does have downsides to it, because I think that committing to a belief system is part of what can make life seem more full and meaningful. Not committing to it out of an act of blind faith or even committing to it permanently, but trying to take it seriously and live by it for a length of time in order to test it out empirically. Also, and I can't remember if this is correct, so don't quote me on this. In fact, as I always say, don't quote me on any of this meme video stuff. I'm just talking off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it has been found that if you appear cynical to others, they will tend to estimate your intelligence higher than if you appear sort of sincere and earnest. We do have this tendency to equate pessimism with sophistication, which I think...
Let me fix this, huh? There we go. Maybe that'll fix it.
is a
Sorry,
shame,
I'm
because
the worst
while
streamer of all
runaway
time.
optimism has its flaws, I think runaway
for letting me
pessimism
know.
really does as well. But of course, as a thought process, it's much easier to label everything as good or everything as inherently bad than consider things on a case-by-case basis. It does save on quite a lot of cognitive effort, but I do think that it strays further from what I would consider to be
Nice
the
to
truth.
see you there,
Which I
Will.
think is that life is inevitably going to contain some suffering, and moreover that a lot of that suffering is going to feel meaningless, and may even be meaningless. And I also do agree with Schopenhauer that it's very easy to just not notice when we're happy and then only take note when we're sad, or in some way frustrated or deprived or upset. I certainly fall into this trap a lot. If my life is going relatively smoothly, then I will just feel middling. But as soon as something goes wrong, then that will tip me into
Is
the
that better?
negative. There's something to be said for consciously counteracting this transparency of happiness. I also think that if somebody
You're my
very
tech
rarely
guy.
takes
Thank you.
life seriously or sincerely, that's unlikely to be a route to long-term fulfillment or happiness. To a certain extent, that's just conjecture, but I do think that caring about things, and thus caring about life, partly relies
Make us
on
go
being
boom.
occasionally sincere. We often recognize this in the context of relationships, where we say that if somebody isn't sincere or vulnerable, then they'll struggle to form a strong, genuine connection with another person. But I think the same relationship probably holds with life. Not taking life sincerely means that it's very hard to feel...
No, you're not ruining my chill. You helped me out, bro. Thank
Again,
you.
to draw from one of my favorite stories, in Tolstoy's The Death of Ivan Ilyich, the main character spends his entire life sort of holding it at a distance because he's simply following the social mores of his day. And then at the end, he has this whole existential crisis because he realizes he's just thrown his life away by
Got that
never
new meta,
sincerely
the mute
engaging
stream.
with existence. Of course, having your point in a Tolstoy novel doesn't actually make it correct, but I do think that it's a good emotive illustration of it. Right, next we have a meme by Actune19, and it says, acting like a problem doesn't exist isn't the same as solving it, and then there are some Wittgensteinians giving some suspicious side-eye. This is interesting. I wonder if it's referring to the earlier Wittgenstein's tendency to dissolve philosophical problems, or the later Wittgenstein's tendency to dissolve philosophical problems. Either way, they sort of amount to saying similar things about philosophical problems, but from very different angles. In Wittgenstein's early philosophy, he says that a lot of philosophical problems are simply confusions of language. And once we get our language in order by following...
Hardest hitter? Probably Saren. You know, you got your weapon buffs with Saren. Atlas is kind of crazy right now. His one, you know, his punch is just fucking insane. I love the Sancti Magistar I have on right now. This thing goes fucking crazy. You know, I love playing Operon, but he's not the hardest hitter. He's more kind of tanky, you know. Sevagoth kind of goes crazy. Korra is kind of going crazy right now.
I think Michael Potter has a good one. He's got a book called
I love Mesa. I don't know, she doesn't do the biggest numbers, but she does a lot of numbers, and they add up real
But I
quick.
remember thinking that his chapter on Wittgenstein, or the early
Like, the Sancti I might be able to one or two shot. Yeah, I played him before the changes, and I didn't have a great stat stick for him, to be honest with you. So, for me, it's just like a straight upgrade. Like, his new, I don't know what you call it, pseudo exalted weapon, and yeah, that's what you call it. That thing is fucking, actually, I guess it's just a straight up exalted weapon now. That shit is really good. Like, hit anywhere from like 10 million to 100 million, and I love it.
Managed to do so much in so little time. I think it's...
I wish they would give Atlas a better way to get his rubble, though.
He's the kind of genius that makes you
Yeah, the Magistar. I mean, yeah, you're probably right, but
I'm pretty sure that
I feel like it does more damage now than it did before.
Was like Isaac Newton dying before he could publish
Because
Thinking.
even when I was using Atlas before, I
Which,
almost
when you
felt
think
like
about the
just
impact that Newton has
using
had,
the Magistar
that's
instead of using his
pretty high
landslide.
praise. But anyway, back to
But
Wittgenstein.
now I use them, I'm like,
Wittgenstein
100% landslide all the
also
time. Like,
certain
it's beautiful. I
philosophical
love it.
problems were to do with confusion
Landslide
of
is
language,
amazing
but
now.
from a very different perspective as the early one.
That
Whereas
reminds
the
me, I need to
earlier
go
one was sort of
change
a
a mod on
logical
Atlas. I was actually just playing
the
him
later
like
one
2 games
was
ago.
much more interested in the notion of language games, which you may have heard of. Again, I don't have time to go into it now. I go into it in a little bit more detail in my video.
Got
on
him
Harry
some
Frankfurt's
regular
On Point,
purples.
if you want to watch that. But essentially, it's more
Some
of
energy
a functional
up.
analysis of language. It's more interested in what people are doing with their words than the logical structures or the
This. I did
propositions
not
that
care
they
for
make.
this mod, this
I think
Path
one
of
of the reasons
Statues
why
shit.
Wittgenstein is so
I wanted to
famous
like
in
it, but
history
it's
of
just not
philosophy
doing
is
it for me.
because he sort of revolutionized the
I
field
like,
twice. First, his Tractata spawned a school
kind
of
of, I
philosophy
like
that lasted
the,
like 2 decades,
where is that
and
shit?
he wrote quite a lot of it in the trenches during World
Am I
War I,
blind?
which is
Rubble heap.
so impressive.
But it's
when you think
it's
about
so
it.
hard to get
And
rubble,
then
man. Like,
later,
is
his
there?
posthumously
I have no
published
idea how to get
notebooks,
rubble,
like Philosophical Investigations, spawned a
other
whole
than
new field of
petrify
philosophy
over and over.
and a
But
whole
then I
new
took off my
approach to
orange,
really doing
my yellow
philosophy.
boy, so I can't even. My
Even really
casting speed doesn't
spilled into
quick anymore. So
linguistics. There aren't
petrify
many
feels like it
modern
takes fucking
philosophers
forever.
that can claim to have done something like that. He also reportedly wasn't great with social skills or social boundaries and was very
You know,
bad-tempered.
Chroma hits like a
Bertrand
tank.
Russell used to say that he would show up at his office, sort of enter without really being announced, and then just pace up and down.
Yeah, he
without
can't
people
land.
interrupting
You can't
the flow.
landslide
Russell would say, "What are
an
you
acolyte,
thinking
can you?
about,
So
your soul or logic?"
what's
And Wittgenstein
Magus
would say, "Both."
Agress? I've
Oh,
never
sorry,
used that.
no,
I'm
it's
not sure
your
what that
soul
is.
and logic, it's your sins and logic.
Is that a?
Oh, never mind. Either way, the point is he's a genius and an eccentric, and he attempted to dissolve philosophical
Oh, see
problems
it in
rather
here.
than solving them most of the time, which I do think can be a valuable approach.
What is that?
Because one of the things about philosophy being quite a broadly defined field
Is there
is that
different
we
ones
can end
available?
up asking a lot of questions that, upon reflection, seem sort of pointless.
I just
remember
tried
reading
like
philosophers
2-3
like
matches
Kant
ago, and it wouldn't let me
thinking, "Oh, yeah,
landslide
there are a
violence.
whole swathe of philosophical problems that I think this approach just solves, but solves in such a way that it makes it mysterious why we even ask
Here, I'll
those
play him
questions
again
in
just
the
for
first
the
place."
lulz.
Of course, a lot of people then respond to this dissolution of problems approach by saying, well, what makes a genuine problem and what makes a problem that needs dissolving?
You know,
And
the one
that
thing I hate
remains a
about,
kind of open question, because there
I
have
wouldn't
been
even say I
many
hate it.
attempts
It's kind of
to
my own
demarcate
fault for
this,
choosing
and
the
none of them
pauldrons I have on.
quite succeeded
but-
perfectly, at least in my opinion.
You think? Okay,
Next we have a meme by Pointless
that might be
Story,
true then.
and it's one of those
I'll have to try again.
pigeon and crow based ones.
But
and then it's
man, the
Machiavelli
fucking
saying, "I
arm
told it
guards
like
he's
it
got
is,"
on, bro, I can't
and then
fucking.
someone else screaming satire.
Like when I aim my gun, I
and
can't
Machiavelli
see the
saying,
enemy.
"So much so that I'm the
My
father
boy's
of
too
the
broad.
outlaw."
Look at this shit. What is
And
this?
then someone else
Like,
saying,
I know I
"Be
could
a
take it off,
satire,"
but I don't
and then
wanna.
saying, "I'm very smart and IQ." I think this is a meme that I do broadly
An
agree
operator
with.
mod?
I think that a lot of
Mod,
people
or is it
try
an
to argue
arcane?
that Machiavelli's The Prince is just obviously satire.
I
and
just use
really disagree. I don't think
Eternal.
the evidence is there. I think
It's
it's
the one
thing to say
for
that Machiavelli didn't
killing
think that
Thrax.
principalities
I can't remember
were
the name of it.
ideal system of
Gives you
governance,
crit when you
because
run
I
out.
think that's pretty clear in his other writings. For instance, in the Discourses,
Do you think
he
Eclipse is a
much
good
more in favour of the sort of
helmet
deep
ability on
constitution of the realm.
Thratless?
But at
I
the
wasn't
same
sure what to
time,
give him, so I
the
just kind of picked a
underlying
generic
logic
one.
isn't that dissimilar. He is still very ends can justify the means. He sometimes advocates doing quite brutal decisions in order to secure the good of the state and so on. I'm also not quite sure what people always mean when they call something like The Prince satire. Because some people seem to mean it as saying, oh, well, Machiavelli intended this to be popular reading.
Oh, well, forgot
and
the
he
thing.
was trying to sort of let people in on the secret moves of the ruling class. Which, I don't know, I don't think that's true because he...
It's
sent it
1400 rubble,
directly
right?
to
But man, it's so hard to get that much rubble, and then it's even, you gotta like
undeniably
maintain it
class
somehow.
and part of the family that exiled him. But of course, the other option is that Machiavelli...
But I like
didn't
that one
think
too.
suffice
That
words
one's
for
rubble
holding
heap.
on
That's
to
one I
power.
just put on.
And I don't know, again, I just don't see the evidence in the text.
Path of
It
Statues,
seems to be
like it's just not
broadly
helpful
in
having a
line
trail
with the
behind
kind
you.
of realpolitik advice that he says in his other sources. I just ultimately think
Man,
that
I wish I would.
Machiavelli
So,
wasn't a
what
moral
is this guy?
philosopher and he
Of course, it gets you
wasn't
right as I'm coming back
there's
to get
nothing
it.
wrong with that. Sometimes you just want a good elucidation of a descriptive difficulty rather than having a prescriptive solution as well. Though having said that, there are moments in The Prince where Machiavelli
But what do
does
you think
seem
about
somewhat concerned
helmet
with the role,
abilities?
because
Like,
sometimes
whose
he is
ability would you steal and
saying
put
that
on him?
committing these brutal actions in order to hold on to power is preferable to the alternative, which is chaos. It's a bit Hobbesian in that sense. He observes that if you're a
Man, once you hit that
denizen
12
of a
times
Renaissance
multiplier, that shit's
city-state
crazy.
in Italy, sometimes it is better to have a brutal ruler than to be overrun by a foreign power who will, massacre.
Yeah,
you
right?
with
If you got a whole army to kill, I guess
When
Petrify gets more, and
Machiavelli
then
says things like that
Landside's
in
easier to
The
keep
Prince,
up.
I do think
I mean,
it's
he's
still a
not
deviation
bad
from
ever.
the
He's
role.
like,
He
he's
does seem to be
tanky.
largely concerned with what
He's
he
really
is,
strong.
not what
I don't
he
know.
was
I'm never mad at him.
I also think this is one of those opinions
Wrathful
that's very tempting to
Advance.
hold because it just
I don't know what the hell that
sounds
does.
like when somebody
I
brings
can't
up
think
The
of it off the
Prince,
top of my
you
head.
can then say, oh, well, did you know? That's satire. So I guess it's a shame that I don't think it's true. Because I would love to have that in my sort of fun trivia fact to tell you. Right, our next meme is by Existential,
Landslide is
and it's
crazy
entitled,
good.
I'm tired of this debate already. Stop trying to prove the existence of God. And it's the kind of midwit meme, I think it's called. With the person on the left-hand side, who's meant to be less intelligent, saying, you can't prove God exists. And then the person in the middle saying,
Oh my
"But
God, save me."
science and the Bible. And then the person who's meant to be very intelligent saying, you can't prove God exists. Not to give a kind of
Yeah, I don't have Kalervo yet, Mara. How the fuck do you get Kalervo? I see him sometimes in the fucking Duviri paradox, but I don't know how to, like, actually go get him on purpose. I bet that's crazy good on him, just for fucking red crits. Although mine already gets red crits, I guess it'll just give me more. Give me some double red crits. I don't even know specifically what it does other than gives you crits. I hear people using it. Yo, I'm lost, bro. I need to get Kalervo. Yeah, I know you get them from there, but I'm not like sure specifically how. Sometimes his stadium is there, and sometimes it's not. I don't know. And even when it is there, I don't really know like where the fuck it is. I hate the paradox, but I don't know. I guess I don't hate it, but I dislike it. It's not my favorite. It's like a 5 out of 10. It's cool to have an open area. It's fun to ride your horse.
There couldn't be. I just don't think there's enough evidence to convince me that he exists. In looking through the arguments like the cosmological argument, the teleological arguments, the fine-tuning arguments, I just haven't found one that's yet convinced me that God exists. I think the one that's given me the most pause for thought.
I've got like 21 of his little dagger currency or whatever. I need to get him, Daggeth, Citrine. I think that's everybody else I need.
I'm not convinced by it, but I think that it's a...
There might be one more that I'm forgetting.
Fascinating. And I do think that it raises potentially a real problem for atheists like myself, which is how do we justify our use of logic? Or, to put it another way, how do we know the laws of logic are true? Given that if we're just products of evolution whose reasoning faculties and senses are attuned to survival rather than to truth, what makes us think that our reasoning chains conserve truth, and what makes us think that the
what shotgun is his?
reasoning chains must be true? It's a very cool question. Again, I sort of tend to lean towards a more neo-pragmatist answer, which is to suggest that
beautiful.
Logic
Everyone died.
isn't necessarily
The end.
geared towards tracking the capital W world as it metaphysically
Rauta?
and objectively exists out there.
I'm not familiar with that one at all. Probably because you get it the same way, and I haven't got his daggers.
To be, to a certain extent, hard-baked
Does it do anything
into our
special?
minds and our perception. Or to put a more Kantian spin on it, the phenomenal world is organized along the lines of logic, and that isn't going to change anytime soon. And if all we're interested in is the phenomenal world, then that seems to me to be sufficient justification. Though, on the flip side, some people suggest that this commits me to an anti-realist theory of truth, which is an interesting...
Oh, I still need to get Dante as well.
Again, I don't have time to look into it here, but perhaps I'll do a full video on this at some point, because I think that it is probably the most underrated theological argument around today. Okay, next we have a...
What? That sounds amazing.
Or letters mash, I suppose. And it's a picture of a cat, and it says...
Oh, wait, I gotta punch him.
Notes you've written in your philosophy journal thinking you cooked, but now you realize it's the most obvious shit in all of existence.
Ah, you're right, I can landslide him.
Have had this feeling at some point. I still keep a notepad by my bed if I come up with a video idea in the middle of the night.
If it gives you fucking combo multiplier, I really want that. That sounds amazing for a gun.
I did this a lot when I was a student.
It's kind of like the base assist, except instead of multiplier, you know, finisher.
I really need to come up with a lot of ideas.
Melee
I would quite often
shotguns? Is that a thing now?
write something down, and I would think, yeah, this is really good. And then I'd go back to sleep, and then I would wake up the following morning, and I would read it, and it would be something like, logic is the study of reasoning well. And I remember thinking, okay, yeah, that's not nearly as groundbreaking as I thought it was at 3 a.m. last night. Although sometimes I do wonder whether I just had a really good thought, but I just couldn't express it that well in my sort of...
I'm not super familiar with this tile set.
Or whether I genuinely did
Confuses the fuck out of me.
Brilliant insight in the middle of the night. I can never quite tell. But yes, I definitely still do this. Sometimes I will
that sounds cool.
open my philosophy journal, having written
Yeah, you
down,
definitely need a little bit of energy gen with Atlas, because
read it backwards.
spamming, even though it's half cost, like landslide eventually just fucking eats up your energy.
Great.
I love landslide though.
I really think there's going to be that much out there. And even if I do put the next
Really,
20,
he's the
30
king of
hours
melee.
into researching and writing a video on the philosophy of knitting,
I find that a little hard to believe. Actually, I guess not with
but
that
yes,
fucking
if you've had
ability
the experience
that
of
he
reading
has.
back through your notes and thinking this was not as brilliant as it felt writing it, you're not alone. I do that multiple times a week. Right, cool. Next we have Proper Hawk 8740, and it's entitled "When People Think I'm Religious Because They See Me Reading the Bible, but I'm actually just enjoying the philosophy in the Book of Ecclesiastes." And it's a picture of a wise king. I don't know if that is a painting of King Solomon. Tradition.
I haven't actually played Duviri in a minute because I got all the Incarnins I wanted and then just kind of stopped playing it. What is he at right now? Fear? That sounds like a negative one. I do need a bunch more Pathos clamps to unlock the Incarnins. But man, I wish we could get more than... Like, what do you get, like... Oh, I can't remember. What's like 15 Pathos clamps per run? That seems like so little. I guess when I run Duviri, I don't really need to build a set. We'll do a Duviri run, just because we're talking about it. You gotta tell me where to go, bro. I'm gonna open up the map. Teleports you, holds cast. I thought his, Oh. Yeah, I've done triple exclamation points. I don't know if I've done it with... Maybe with melee? I'm not sure. Actually, I think I've only seen 2 exclamation points on mine, now that I really think about it. But 700%? That sounds ridiculous. Ooh, that's always good. Oh, where's the slag? Help me. Help me, Tom Cruise. See, I don't have Daggeth. Styanax, mine kind of sucks. Hildren got buffed, but I haven't remodded her. Ooh, I've never used this. That sounds fun. Totemeyer, nice. Ooh, I love the Zenistar though. I'm not super familiar with that either. Let's give that a try. Oh yeah, I gotta wait for this one. This isn't the... Alright. Now where the fuck... Oh, the one that says Culero, probably. I guess I was just checking during happy times. Is this where he's at? Wherefore art thou, Culero? Hey, fuck boy, give me your dagger shit. Oh yeah, you think he's gonna be tough? Yeah, you're probably right. Did I not skip this? Oh no. Not doing finishers. I do like double jumping. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're on Steel Path. Because I was just doing Steel Path. If it's not, I'll be a little bit upset. I'm not gonna lie. Ooh, that's always good. Oh, I should have grabbed that multi-shot. What am I thinking? Who needs accuracy? How do I actually challenge this asshole, though? It doesn't mark their marker on the fucking map, does it? Am I blind? Is this it? That must be it, huh? Maybe? That's what it feels like. They just need to make double jump default on the fucking drifter, man. I can't stand not having a double jump. Yeah, but then you gotta do it twice if you want the goddamn helmet, too. Like, man, that sucks. Just do anything special? Ooh, is that, what is that, like a shotgun shot? Get him, Marina. Oh, just survival? That's not too bad. Oh, this is a slam weapon. What am I doing? And then slam! Yeah, nice. And then everybody died. The end. I was reading that Dakota Meyer, not reading, watching a video that Dakota Meyer is supposed to be the new Sancti Magistar, but I don't think so, man. I am not wasting platinum on a regular ass frame. Can't do it. Like, it's a good slam weapon, this Meyer, but it ain't like that good. Or is it? Question mark? It's good, but like, look at that, 61,000? That don't seem very good. Do I need to build this different? I guess the toxin procs are pretty big, but when the Sancti Magistar is hitting like 30 mil and it's got like a twice as big explosion radius. This is hitting alright, I guess. But I feel like it does way better against anything without armor, but that's like everything. I mean, it's definitely putting in work. I've always liked the Meyer ever since, I think it was out when the game first came out. I can't quite remember. But I think it was, because I remember putting on my Saren just for style points. I thought it was cool, but I remember it just sucking so bad. I'm so glad they made a Coda version of it. Granted, you know, what did I put on it? I think I just put a duplicate on it. I tried that one that gives you extra statuses when you know, get blasted away, but that doesn't work on anything that needs the extra statuses, like Eximus and shit, so I was like, whatever. Critical melee is probably going to be enough to go kill Claire, alright. Melee afflictions? Which one is afflictions? Is that corrosive damage? I can't quite remember. Or is that the one where they get launched and they get the extra stacks of status? Because again, that one doesn't proc on the things I need it to proc on. Oops. I forgot you take falling damage as a drifter. How lame. Yeah, but I mean, why use that one? Because anything that's not Eximus will die anyway. And then anything that needs the extra statuses doesn't get it because they don't actually go flying at all. Because they have Overguard. How do I fight this fucker? Ah, Jesus. Ah, there he is. Oh my god, I hate it when my fucking weapon glitches out. Yeah, that thing is ass. Uh-oh. Stay out of that. Yo, good thing they can kill him. Jesus Christ. Ah, get that away from me. Damn, buddy is just fucking one-shotting his ass. Yo, why are you attacking in the opposite direction? This is mad annoying. How is Buddy fucking one-shotting him if he's this tanky? Damn, bro, chill. Oh, no. He's a fire in his lasers. Am I'm in danger. What are the first 2 rounds free? Now he fights for real? I've done this so few times, I don't even know. I didn't realize this reload time. Why does it do this? Why does it keep switching my weapon, bro? What is this? Thank you for the carry, gentlemen. I can barely know what's going on. Yeah, I'll hit him eventually. Maybe not, though. Nope. Ah, I could have finished your attack? Okay. Yo, stop sliding around, bro. What the fuck is that? Stomp his ass out. Oh yeah, I don't need to. I can teleport now. How nice. She fucked around and now she's finding out. Man, aiming's tough. Oh, hell no. Bro, I am behind you. What is that? Man, 6 years later, Jesus Christ. Bitch. Oh no. Why won't you die? Eh, fuck it. Yo, Duviri. Chill. Yes, the endless missions. They're terrifying, I know. He was just walking around. Watch out for its beans. Maybe it's all these red things on the map. Couldn't be. The fuck just knocked me down? A persisting shockwave. Alright, hurry up with the lasers. I ain't got all day. Oh yeah, them fucking missiles coming in, aren't they? No. You know, after listening to Marcus Aurelius's meditations, I feel like Teshin is based off of him. Yeah, I played a little Baruch just to try out. He's actually the most recent frame I've gotten, Baruch Prime. He seems kind of great. Oh god. Yeah, you think you got a buff from the Arcane? Not the Arcane, from the Exalt buff? Or I guess the Exalt changes since it was a nerf for old Atlas. His shit seems crazy good though. It's basically just a gun. I just want to go fast. I am speed. Ah, that makes a big difference for him. Is this not it? Yo, chill. Is there like a hole in the ground or something? Now, when I was playing with Baruch, he was pretty good, but I definitely wasn't fucking... What is this? Oh, we're doing... My bad, I'm ready now. I wasn't doing damage cap, that's for sure. What? Am I supposed to do numbers or fucking arrows? I'm retarded. I can't do this. Too slow. Too dumb. Yo, please. Well, based on the way fucking Culervo was sliding around, I believe it. Man, what a long flight. Did I go through that? Fucking wild. Oh man, it's been a minute since I've done this. That shit just killed me, huh? F. Something about... Oh yeah, when I was, I've played Baruch, but I've not hit the damage cap with him or anything. He seems strong, but... I mean, he wasn't that strong for me. I guess I gotta retry my build. Rebuild my build. Minus 7,000? Damn. That sounds incredible. I can't believe you can hit that much. Yeah, it's definitely screenshot worthy. Oh, I'm out of ammo, huh? That's not good. I don't get my Corvus. The Kates are your salvation. Yeah, I've had the damage counter wrap around before. But I've never seen it go negative. I feel like it always goes around when I play like Saren or something. Can't fly worth shit. Can't shoot worth shit. We struggling, boy. Yeah, I was just saying, I've never seen that either. That sounds crazy. I don't even know how to get off this bitch, to be honest with you. Why does my one not get me off? Do I not have a button to fucking dismount? Really, with Valkyrie, she doesn't seem that strong. She seems kind of whatever and just immortal. Dang, I had no idea. Wonder what I'm missing on her. Hey, it was a fucking thing. Only 7 blame. Ah, is that extra on top of bonus for killing him? Or so would I get 2? I guess that's not too bad. Should I get the blueprint first, I guess? Oh, he doesn't have any shields? Interesting. What's DR, my friend? Only 7? Mid. I guess his pieces weren't super expensive. How many clamps do I have? What is it, 20 for an Incarnate? Better. It's been a fucking minute. Let's go see what we can unlock. Probably want to get the boar. Hey, Nightwave done. Doesn't Valkyrie just have immortality? Does she? What do you mean? She doesn't really have damage reduction, right? She's just immortal? Alright, you creep. What incarnate do you think I should get? I just spam melee with her. Specifically, I do like her slide dashes over and over because they hit so fucking fast. I think I want to go with the Boar or maybe the Boltor. I hear the Okina is real good. Maybe the Dare Vandal. I don't know. Cybear could be fun. What you think? Willie, your choice. Okina? Okina it is. I lied. I don't have enough Mothfangs. Oh, what an annoying one to get to. Let's see what we get. Ooh, sprint speed? That's actually fucking awesome. Man, I gotta go back in there and get fucking Mothfangs. That's fucking lame. Yeah, see that? That's fucking awesome. And parkour velocity. Hmm, 30% status damage? That's kind of cool. But so is additional combos. Yo, more movement speed? That's crazy. Gonna be fast as fuck with this thing. Man, it's both good at status and crit, huh? Gamma Core. It pulls them in. That's interesting. And both those first ones are very conditional. I guess I would go with the volley. These evolutions seem kind of mid. But the base damage sounds good. I don't know if I would channel too many abilities. Who do I even play that channels? Yeah, I got the burst in. I love that thing. Actually, I think the Furrest might be my favorite of them all. That thing is, like, just the best. Also, I don't understand why these say evolve. These are all maxed out. But they never go away. Pretty sure it's a glitch. I wonder how the Cybear is. See, if that had some kind of slam radius, I might consider this, because that'd be fun. I guess it'd just be another Sancti Magistar. What is this bullshit? Man, I hate all the goddamn... Yeah, dude, I just got a Riven for the Dual Toxicus. That thing is awesome. But the healing from the Furist plus the damage is just fucking amazing. Alright, I'm gonna go back and get the Maw. Reload speed, and then a ton of damage. It's not the best Riven, but man, that 382% damage is fucking awesome. And I low-key love the reload speed, I'm not gonna lie. These do seem quite great. Merciless Gunfight might be good, but this has been doing me pretty good. This is the only thing I've ever put steady hands on that has just, like, changed my life. I love it on this. And then that, too, the thing has no recoil. Secondary Encumber. Is that the one that gives you extra damage for each status that you do? I'm fucking blind. Where is Encumber? Do I not have it? I don't have it. Ooh, that sounds kind of cool. Shredding the world. Where do do get encumber? I'm surprised I don't have any. Hopefully it's one of the jade ones. Those are fucking free. Not the citrine farm. I did a little bit of that. That shit is... Ugh. Yeah. I got some of her currency. I wonder if I could buy any. Yeah, these things are great. They're terrible primers. They just kill everything. But I really like the furist too. It's pretty good. What is a babao? I probably don't even have it. It's not quite as good as a Toxicist, but you know, it fucking heals you. I mean, can I even spawn it if I haven't scanned it? Let me see. Oh, is that the fat guy? Oh, that's the tall, lanky looking thing. You haven't scanned anything in Holovania. They're pretty tough though. That wouldn't be a bad one to grab. Because these dudes are kind of easy. You're lucky I can't see you. That Wraith do be wraithing. I feel like this thing got buffed because it doesn't stagger me anymore. I guess I'm playing Atlas. He can't get staggered. What would you recommend on the Burstin? I hear Burstin is like the best, but my Burstin seems kind of mid. I'm not gonna lie. Take a look at my Burstin. This is my in-game name. Mr. Emo Taco Supreme. Yo. I assume this is you, so I'm going to immediately add you. Why do you gotta be on the fucking... Ugh. I definitely want to check out this mire. Iron Phoenix, huh? Ooh, I need that. I think my afflictions is only like level 3. No, it's only level 2. This is mine. It's not that different, I suppose. If you don't mind, will you send me a burstin'? This might burst in, but it seems kind of mid. You even got like a decent-ish ribbon for it. Oh, Iron Phoenix does something special, huh? What does it do? Infected. What you got? Alright, this doesn't seem far from what I'm using. I'll use scope. I don't use scope. Maybe I should throw scope on there. I guess I'll put it on the third one. Can we go into the simulacrum together? How do you change? I'd be seeing people on YouTube with a different simulacrum. How the fuck do you change that? Oops. Buy them from where? Oh, you don't want to go in here? And then after you buy them, where the fuck do you actually change them at? I want that one where it's just that one room where all of them spawn in one little area. Yeah, I've been seeing this one. This is one I saw like a top 10 weapons video. Oh, I'm switching over this burstin. And then the mire. Looking at the stance? What am I looking at? Oh, really? Oh, plus move. Oh, that's so cool. Yo, we got, okay, I see. Spawn some enemies. I gotta see. That's so cool. Yo, thank you. This is awesome. I immediately like it more. This is so fast. This is awesome. I love it. Immediate upgrade. Oh, you had that buff on. That's why it was so fast. Still faster than jumping and doing it, though. Okay, that's pretty good. I don't think mine's going to do that. Were those Eximus or regulars? Oh, they're regulars. Try doing it with Eximus. See what happens. I don't think I can spawn stuff. Nope. I hear you, but try some Eximus. Nothing. No damage. Oh, and then they died. Well, I was wrong. But do you think that was the arcane at all? Or do you think that was just straight Meyer doing Toxin? Load him in and let me just smack him real quick. Guess I should have given this a try. Yeah, why are we using that Saxum set on there? What does that do? Oh, I see. Lifted enemies explode, it seems. That's pretty cool. Let me try this bursting, huh? Oh, I can't fucking see. Goddamn shoulders. Okay, that's not bad. Especially when I hit a headshot. That is pretty good. Okay, okay, okay. Let's swap. I need to build that AK-47 looking gun up too. So really the only difference is what? No serration, yes scope. Well, I got scope, okay. Chamber, and we're using aptitude. We're both using viral. Does that make that much of a difference? Oh, that's pretty good too. Get the affliction. Yeah, I need to get the afflictions up. You know, it's pretty good too. I forgot these weren't Eximus. I always test myself on Eximus because I feel like those are the tough enemies. What about the Sporithix? You know how to build this thing? I gave it blast. Wasn't really sure what to do with this thing. I kind of liked primary crux on it because then it would blast like a motherfucker. From Sanctum, yeah. Okay. And then once you buy them, like, how do you equip them? How do you actually change them? Like, what menu are you going into? I like the Sporithix, but man, it does not seem great on armor. No crit sucks. I guess they're dying once they get the viral up. Oh, so I guess I just don't have any. Okay. Oh, but now they're taking... Maybe I was not hitting headshots? I should try again, just to be sure. I guess this does hit good. A 700,000 with no crit seems pretty decent. I hear the Nagantaka is pretty okay. Oh, I love my Phage. Do you like the Phage at all? Is it any? Yeah. Not bad. all status, all the time. The Phage is so neat though. I think it's got so many statuses on it. Yeah, viral, magnetic, blast, corrosive. Beautiful. It's so cool having corrosive and viral on a weapon. I think that's like the coolest shit. I need to build up that Natteruk. I need to finally level up my Finmore's Incarnins. Oh yeah, true. My bad, brother. Oh, this is the Phage I'm talking about over here. I don't even know what the last thing I said was. I got a 5-second attention span. Ooh, the Soma Prime is pretty damn good. Yeah, I've got 2 base assists. I'm going to combine them at some point. This is the one I just bought from this week. Oh, here's the other one. But mine is not leveled up. Well, it's level 30, but it's not forming at all. I didn't even put a potato in it. Seems like a fun gun, though. Seems pretty good right off rip. I was using it in some not high-level mission, but it was wrecking shit with no mods or anything. Best, yeah, I heard that. Yeah. Seems pretty good. I love the special on it, too. Makes that melee crescendo seem better. That is kind of cool. Do you like the AX-52? The AX-52 seems crazy on paper, but mine kind of sucks. Yeah, the biotic rounds is really good. Definitely don't need piercing caliber on this thing. But now I see. I know, right? Dude, they need a fucking... I ain't having to buy Forma. I never like buying Forma. Feels like you got it sometimes. Especially with, like, the Kuva weapons and shit. I don't know, I expected it to be a little better. Even with this lack of anything on it. At least, like, let us make, like, 2 Forma a day. That'd be nice. Putting 5 into a weapon just is, like, a pain in the ass. Man, the Kuva Sobek fucking sucks ass if you're not Saren. And then they all die. It doesn't need a target, you can just jump around with it? That's kind of neat. Oh, you put it on your Baruch, that's cool. That's a cool looking Baruch. It resets your parkour too? That's actually amazing. And then they all died. Everyone died. The end. Have you ever tried the Kuva Sobek with Saren? With her Spore buff and that... Oh, what's that other one called? The other weapon buff. It makes the explosion just kill everybody. It's beautiful. Yeah, I love that shit. But only on Saren. I guess maybe anybody with like a weapon buff ability. I made this fucking... I don't know what you call them. Fuck, this kit gun. I thought it was supposed to be good, but this thing fucking sucks ass. Yeah, I'm sure with... yeah, well, that's a weapons platform too, though. I mean, Zata's Whisper is like the best. This thing is ass. I wish I didn't even waste my time building this fucking kit gun. Oh, yo, I want that Kuva comb, man. That thing sounds fucking sick. Because the regular comb sucks ass. Comb, man, that thing sounds fucking sick. That boy's pretty tough. I like him. Did it crash? It says it's still going. I don't know, all my stuff says the stream is still live. I gotta go scan that dude right away. I want to try stuff on him. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm happy the Phage can kill him pretty good. Granted, I was buffed up. Oh yeah, I love Mesa. What? Why would I use the Phyrex Wraith? What is the benefit here? Explain. I don't know if I have the Phyrex Wraith or not. Oh, I do. Nice. Oh, you got a fucking ribbon for it? You really like this thing. Ooh, it blasts them. Oh, boy. Ooh, it makes secondaries better. Oh, I see. Oh, that's cool. You don't even need that fucking ribbon. Alright, I'm in. You got me. I'm convinced. Oops. Oops. Let's see. I don't give a fuck about that stuff. Just give me my fucking body count, boy. Yeah, why crescendo? Oh, very cool. Because with crescendo, then you'll have a high-ass multiplier to go ahead and give to your secondary. Oh, that's gross. I love that. Ooh. You don't really need the gamma core. You can do this with anything, right? Yeah, I've never thought of using that way. That's so cool. That is very fun. With the bass assist. It seems like a lot of setup, though. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, you got a better way. Okay. Oh, wait, with that shotgun? Yup, I knew it. You know, it fits the style, too. That's cool. Oh, man. I'm gonna bust. Do it. Do it. Do it, do it, do it. Do it. You got me excited. Do it. Did you just melee them with the Furix? Is that a Nautilus? No. I don't think my Vezarin is leveled up at all. That's cool though. I see. Now do the 4. Do it. Do the Babu. Not bad. Had to join in, sorry. I wonder what your numbers look like. I don't know what the what's an Ember Shard? Oh, the orange one for doing fire damage. That's pretty good. That's a lot of heat stacks too. I bet them dots were huge. I guess I might have to put some fire on these and some orange boys, huh? Yeah, 72% strength. That's pretty good. Shit, I was just using velocity and augmented. I'm sure you probably have... Actually, I don't know if you got velocity or not, but... Yeah, that is a lot of stuff. This shoots so fast with the furs. I'm a big fan of just this small buff from the Furs. Fur axe? My bad. Did the Babel talk? Oopsie. I love how I can't hit him even though I'm like right in front of him. Oh, one at a time, I see. What is those arms? Ooh, what is that arm? The armor. That's cool. That's cool signed on it too. I don't know, that shotgun's it kind of just fits her aesthetic really well. You try that Vesper 77 with that evade. This gun sounds cool. Seems pretty good. What do you just melee them with the Okina? I need to get that fucking bow mod for the Grimoire still to get my strength up. Voam Invocation, I think it is. I mean, the Okina look cool. He looks kind of cool. The way he just be slash dashing around. Sorry, I'm trying to steal your kills. Yeah, rest in peace. What pulls him in? Are you Nautilus? Okay, yeah. Get Shrek. Yeah, I can't wait to get my Calervos, because that ability seems really good. Gotta love the slam. Ooh, I want the Motivord. What status, do you have it set up for puncture? Or impact? Or maybe slash? I think it was puncture I heard was the good one. Is impact the one where you just get a absolute buck ton of impact damage? And then everyone died. The end. Yeah, I would like to have that one soon. That was a good looking one. Man, I love me some Latron Wraith. You know, why do all that when you got Mirage? You can just fucking kill the whole world with Epitop. Disco Ball kill these guys? Disco Ball wins. Epitaph wins. Or did you kill him? That was just the napalm that killed him. Mirage is ridiculous. Oh, I still have an invigoration on her too. That's why she's so strong. Disco Ball is too free. Well, that time you're shooting everybody. Who else is pretty good? Core is really good now with that fucking Exalt change. I'm sure you've tried that one. I love not aiming. I love the new Exalteds, man. They're all just so strong. Like, I don't remember her Whip Claw being, like, anywhere near that strong. Ooh, I don't even know what the fuck that does. Looks like it spawns a bunch of health orbs. I'm not sure how close I am. It's been really fun, dude, but I think it's time I go to bed. What is it? Like fucking a turret? We gotta play later, dude. It really has been a lot of fun. I love hanging out in the simulacrum. I think I already added you. Yeah, me too. And I love your freaking ideas, dude. That shit with the Furex got me excited. I can't wait to get that fucking Clervo shotgun, even though you said you don't use it. I can't wait to get it. And that Vazarian pull-in was cool too. I can't wait to try that shit with the Crescendo. I can't remember the name of that arcane, but I know what it does. So man, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Oh, I love Mirage too. So not Mirage. I'm sorry, Mesa. So that's a fun one for me. Thanks for coming to my stream too. It was nice meeting you, bro. Oh, I'll catch you later.